So on this video, we're going to talk about starting on dry paper, light to dark, details, or should we say no details, connections, and stick with it. So stick with the video so you get to hear my views on all of these if you want to. So this is Saint-Antonin-Noble in the south of France. Been there a few times in the camper van, and it's a lovely scene to paint. So that's what we're doing here. And the paper's 11 inches by 15 inches, so quarter sheet. And dry paper. So I always start on dry paper. I never wet the paper. I think I tried it in the beginning and I found it very difficult because I had very little control over it. I could probably do it now because I now have more of an understanding of the wet paper, how much water to paint ratio and all that sort of stuff. You need to know all that to paint on wet paper. But then I've come to the conclusion I'm painting on wet paper now. But I've got it wet where I want it, that I can control where it's going, that this isn't bleeding down onto the lower part of the painting. So I can retain highlights if I want them and so on. Or I can change the colour and start warming it up as I come down. So that's why I don't necessarily paint on paper that I've wet all over first. But to be fair, I don't think it makes much odds because the paper is completely wet now. Look. So it's a big discussion, and people say, oh, why don't you start on wet paper? I like the way you start on dry paper, but the paper is completely wet now, so you could argue I'm now painting on wet paper. So it's a case of it doesn't really help you, I think, to wet the paper straight off if you don't know why you're doing it. And if you're only doing that because you've seen it on a demo, don't do it. Start on dry paper, I find works better. So we're now on dry paper, so we can get hard edges, and that's the big difference really. Painting on wet paper, you can't get hard edges, you're going to get soft edges everywhere, which is why it's very difficult to control anything. So dry paper, we can get hard edges, so I can make that mountain shape a mountain shape and it'll stay that shape. So light to dark, that I've put the light tones in, that obviously this was painted a few years ago, this painting, and looking at it now, I think I would have liked to have left more white paper behind, but hey, you live and learn. So the white paper would be the lightest value, but doesn't matter, we've got some light values in there. And now we're adding slightly darker values, and we'll work up to the darker darks. Sometimes I might put a dark in if I want it wet into wet, like there for instance, that we need it slightly darker there. Details, I think probably more accurate is no details. That there's hundreds of houses there in that village, but I'm just going to paint around a few rooftops and suggest a detail, and that's the style of watercolour I paint, and I assume you like if you're watching this video. And you can make it look detailed. For instance, on the church there, we could perhaps put a little bit of detail in the church spire and so on, or whatever you want to do. But this part of the painting where I'm doing now doesn't actually need any detail. So that's what you got to ask yourself. The bit you're painting, do I actually need detail here? And in actual fact, would it actually detract away from the painting? For instance, if I started painting chimney pots and tree branches and so on that far away, it's not going to give us that illusion of depth. So that's why we don't put lots of detail in. And here we're now adding connection. So that's the number 4 on the list. So stick around for number 5, which is stick with it. So connection, one of the big things for me painting watercolours and in oils really, that it gives the painting a sense of wholeness. And what do I mean by connections? Exactly what I'm doing here, that I'm using that bead, I've connected the distant mountain to the sky there by having a soft edge up in the corner. And now I'm painting those buildings, distant trees, wet into that hill, and that's adding connection. And I'm keeping that bead going because that bead will just travel down the paper, because I have my board at about a 30-degree angle, so I know which direction it's going at. So again, if your paper is wet all over, you have no control over the bead. So there will be times, if I'm sure on the demos where people do where they wet the paper first, at some point they will have dry paper to do the hard edges and work with the bead if that's what they do. So it's a case, I'm sure if you're painting watercolours, at some point you'll be painting on wet paper, at some point you'll be painting on dry paper. So it's just a case of whether you wet the paper at the beginning. But like I said, do you know why you're wetting it? That's what you got to ask yourself. So 100 houses painted there, but it's all an illusion. No, there we go. There's the houses off in the distance. And if you blurred your eyes, would you see them all? No. So working wet into wet, put those distant trees in, and the paper needs to be wet to make them soft, the edges, because again, if we have hard edges here, it's going to detract from the scene and make them seem closer than they actually are. So don't underestimate edges, and again, that's why you need to have dry paper for the hard edges and damp paper for the soft edges. It's quite simple watercolor, really, when you think about it. I know it's not, and I struggled with it for years, but you have these kind of ha-ha moments when you start painting. It's never easy, because it does its own thing, and there's just so much to remember. But it is actually quite simple. Wet paper gives you soft edges, dry paper gives you hard edges, but then you add in fact how much paint to water ratios on the brush, how damp is the paper, is it soaking, is it just damp. There's so many variables. So I've just put a bit of paper there because it's very hot and I've probably got greasy hands, and I could end up damaging the paper by putting my hand on the paper there. So that's why I did that. So this is where we're perhaps now putting in some detail, because the church is quite a dominant part of this village. So by putting in perhaps a little bit of detail here, but I don't think I probably put in a lot of detail if I remember rightly. I started off with a fairly accurate drawing. I may well have traced that, I don't know. I've just done a video on my new channel doing a portrait where I talk about why I trace and why I wouldn't trace and so on. So I'll put a link in the description to that video, and perhaps put the thumbnail at the end if you want to click that. But for something like this, there's a lot of things you could get wrong with buildings. So like doing a portrait, unless you can draw it accurately, I would trace. But spend your time doing drawing and practicing to build up to be able to draw these freehand, because that's our ultimate goal. But it's going to take time. So stick with it, particularly on with watercolor and any scene. You're at this stage here. It would be easy to think, well, it's not really working, let's abandon here. I find that with portraits as well. Until you get those darks in and some features and so on, it's not going to make sense. But it's the same here. Until we get the darks in, perhaps put a few windows in, maybe a little dark under the eaves and so on, it's not going to make sense. And you shouldn't judge it at this stage, though. Just keep going, have your plan, and don't overwork areas. That aim to go from to cover the whole of the paper, and then come back in and refine areas that you might not need to put detail in everywhere, that you could put detail in, and then find actual fact that you would better to leave that area without detail. For instance, off in the distance there with those distant trees, I just suggested there's something there. So see the bead? So important for scenes like this, and it's scenes like this that actually attracted me to watercolor. The likes of Joseph Zbukvik, who paints obviously scenes like this, and he uses the bead. That's where I came across the word for the bead. But it's very important to find your own way. That I did actually paint this on location as well, and that was part of his advice, to go outdoors and paint, to find your own subjects and so on. There's a lot of Zbukvik copyists out there that I try not to be one. I can't help be influenced by his work, but I'm also influenced by Edward Seago, John Singer Sargent, and other artists who I've looked at in the past. And I'm sure some of you who've been following me for a while have picked up some of the things I do. That's how we learn. So again, light to dark. So that light wash I did before is now paying dividends, because we're now putting a dark against light for those arches on the bridge. And a lot of this is just going to be suggested. Again, back to detail. Do you need lots of detail? And watercolor is a great medium for losing the detail. You know, just throw some water on and just let it disappear and get rid of those edges, hard edges, which are going to be distracting. So this new channel, which I'll share, is I think I called it Robert Mee's Art World. So anything else I'll share on there. That I did actually do a watercolor portrait, so it could have been shared on this channel, but I think because I'm learning watercolors, that you know, I didn't actually think it was a suitable demo to go on this channel maybe, but you know, eventually when I get better I will put them on this channel. But if you're a member of my website, which is www.robertmeeworkshops.com, you can join the members forum, and I share those videos on there as well, so you get the link straight to the video for anything that might be relevant to you. And if you're a member of tier 2, you get access to all the videos that see, this is a video I done painted a while ago, but all my latest content is on the website. So nice orange glow coming through there. So you'll be surprised, all those muted colors, they can, you know, look potentially, you could say, a little bit muddy, but it will make the lighter values, like the light coming through the bridge there, seem brighter. And again, going back to sticking with it, you know, it's very easy at this stage to think, oh dear, you know, it's gone to pot, but don't do that. Just keep going. You know, at the end of the day, you can give up at the very end if it's completely failed, but you know, just keep going and you'll learn something. So these darks going in are what's going to give the painting that a little bit of power. And again, it's why watercolor is so tricky, because these darks will change. You know, they look quite dark at the moment, but when they dry, they're going to go a little bit lighter, because I'm painting into damp paper. And when you're painting into damp paper, it's going to actually dilute the paint, because you're going to mix water with it. So you have to allow for that. And I've just sprayed some water on there, which again will dilute it. And you know, I perhaps wasn't very happy with that part, so I'm using the water to spray to wash it off basically, and see what effects I get. But if I start dabbing at it with a tissue, you damage the paper. And I mentioned that in the demo I did on this other channel, which is why I perhaps traced the portrait. I did have a go at drawing it freehand and it was okay, but I rubbed out quite a bit to correct things and so on. And if you're rubbing out on watercolor paper, you're damaging the paper, and you could end up, you know, with unsightly marks on your watercolor. So you know, maybe you're better off to, if you want to draw freehand and you think you're going to be doing lots of correcting, to trace that onto your watercolor paper afterwards maybe. So these are the details going on. You know, when you say details, you know, it's just a couple of little blobs of paint here and there. You know, it's a loose watercolor. And it was, I remember this was actually quite tricky, this part in here, because there was just so much detail. So just leave out anything that's going to cause you problems. You know, unless you're going to be comparing this to the photograph or the scene, no one's going to know when you leave stuff out. And it's this stage where you could overwork it, but it's actually quite nice. I've got connection all the way through, and by putting these darker rooftops and details on, you're breaking up that connection. So you've got to be so careful that it's better sometimes to do it wet into wet like that, because you get the soft edges and you still retain that connection. But without these hard edges and the darks in, it can look a little bit weak and flat. So you know, there's no easy way to do it really. You've got to do it, but you've just got to put the right amount in. And what is the right amount? You know, you just don't know. So hopefully you don't mind me being doing a voiceover chatting away on this, but you could always mute me and put some music on in the background if you wanted to. That the audio on this was on the original video, but you know, again, I'm sort of practicing doing voiceovers, and I can, you know, I've already shown this video on YouTube before, so I thought you know, I'd share a different viewpoint on it maybe. I'll perhaps share the original video on memberships as well, so you can watch the original video. But I think this is probably a scene I would like to have a go at painting again in the future, maybe revisit it. It's certainly an area we we go in our camper van and revisit that. There's a nice camper van parking area there, and you can actually park up where I am there to do the painting. I've painted it in oils and watercolour. So it's now starting to take shape a little bit, and it's just maybe these final little bits of detail. We start with our washes, try to retain light, which we've got light in the sky there, the light coming through the bridge, and that works quite well, spraying the water on the lower part of the painting, because it creates that mistiness, a little bit of mysteriousness, and handles that foreground, which could be really tricky, and puts more focus on the village and the church and so on. And I think things like that, the railing, the detail there, don't try and paint them all perfect, just a few random marks, but pay attention to the perspective. That I always put a couple of birds in the sky, often look for little bits of paint that have splattered up, but that quite often happens. What am I doing here? That's a big bird. No, it's a tree. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a tree. So I'm using a sign writing brush there. That's a Pro Art 9A medium. It's a good brush for doing these fine marks. It holds a lot of paint. And then back to this Skoda brush, which I use a lot, the Skoda Perla, and I just dry brush that on. Again, I'm not painting leaves, detail and so on, it's just a suggestion. And we could all do with that person to be sat on our shoulder to say stop. That there's many times I've done these demos and overworked the painting, and I just wish I could have stopped at this point or whatever, but it's very difficult because we're always trying to make it better, and you probably, if you're like me, you're never really happy with your paintings. You might be the day after or looking at it in a few months time, but I did, I think, eventually put this in a frame, and it was quite nice. So I'm balancing the scene there by putting a tree there, but I'm not putting the branches underneath and so on. It's just a few marks there. That I think the scene needs to balance. And you've got to be careful with watercolour. Going too many layers, it will start to become muddy. I think as long as you have an area of light in the painting, you can probably get away with it. But it's better to not overwork an area than overwork it. And perhaps it lose a little bit of detail or part of the painting by keeping it fresh. So just a couple of figures, which I generally go for a small head. We're about 8 heads high, just a silhouette. Sometimes I put a little dog in, walking a dog. That could be Kate and I maybe, but that's more on beach scenes. So do hit the like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I just scratched out there that puts the figures on the other side of the barrier. And I think if I remember rightly, there were baskets with flowers along the bridge there, which I didn't paint, I don't think, or maybe I did. But just be careful. No, I don't think I did paint them, because they just would spoil the painting, and if they're not going to look good in your painting, maybe an oil paint, you could do it, but leave it out. But a couple of figures on the beach, figures on the bridge add to it. So there's the painting. Obviously, this is a photograph taken on my phone, so it's a bit more bright and colourful. The phones tell little lies sometimes, but overall, I was pleased with the painting. So hopefully you enjoyed that demo. Hit the like and subscribe, and I shall see you soon. And if you enjoyed this landscape painting, you'll probably also like this one.